Rain poured down over Chicago, hitting the streets like tiny drums. The city felt heavy and sad that night, just like Alara Voss's heart. Alara was 28 years old and very beautiful. She wore a pale gold silk dress that shined softly under the streetlights on Michigan Avenue. The dress fit her perfectly, and her high heels clicked against the wet pavement. She looked like someone who had everything together, but inside, she was breaking. Only hours earlier, Alara had been excited. Her boyfriend, Dax Hayes, had sent her a text to meet him at a fancy restaurant. His message was mysterious, and she thought maybe he was going to ask her to marry him. She had chosen her gold dress for the special moment, imagining herself wearing a ring by the end of the night. But when she walked into the warm, candlelit restaurant, things felt wrong. Dax was sitting at their usual table, his face serious. She smiled, but he didn't. Something in the way he sat told her that something bad was about to happen. "Alara, it's over," Dax said loudly, so loudly that people at other tables turned to look. Before she could say a word, a blonde woman in a red dress sat down next to him. "This is Serena, my new girlfriend," Dax said. Then, without looking away from Alara, he kissed Serena. It was a long, deep kiss that felt like a final slap in Alara's face. Whispers filled the restaurant. People stared at her. Alara felt frozen, her breath stuck in her throat. Then she turned and ran. Her heels slid on the shiny floor as she escaped, her pride shattering with every step. Now alone on Michigan Avenue, the rain fell harder, soaking her gold dress until it stuck to her skin. Her hair, once perfectly curled, was flat and dripping. She could still see Serena's smug smile and Dax's cold eyes in her mind. Her heels wobbled on the slippery sidewalk. Suddenly, one strap on her shoe came loose, and she tripped, falling to her knees. The ground was hard, and the scrape on her skin stung. But the pain in her heart was worse. "Why me?" she whispered, but the storm drowned out her voice. Tears mixed with the rain as she tried to fix her shoe with trembling fingers. Then, a shadow blocked the rain. Alara looked up. A tall man stood over her, holding a big black umbrella. His face was handsome, sharp jaw, green eyes, and calm energy. He wore a black suit that was a little wet from the rain. "You look like you needed this," he said gently. Alara blinked, water clinging to her eyelashes. "I'm fine," she lied, but her shaking hand said otherwise. The man crouched so his face was closer. "Let me help you up," he said, holding out his hand. Alara took it. His hand was warm and strong, yet so different from the cold air and the cold night. "There's a cafe just down the street," he said. "Let's get you out of this rain. I'm Cassian." Alara hesitated. In Chicago, strangers didn't usually stop to help, especially a black woman kneeling in the rain. But Cassian's eyes looked kind, without hidden reasons. She nodded and walked with him under the umbrella. The cafe was small and cozy. Its windows were fogged up from the warmth inside. The smell of coffee and fresh bread wrapped around Alara like a blanket. They sat near the window and ordered steaming mugs of coffee. "I'm Alara," she said quietly. "Rough night?" Cassian asked gently. The words poured out of her before she could stop. She told him about Dax, the kiss, and the shame she felt. Cassian listened without interrupting, his green eyes calm and understanding. "He doesn't deserve you," Cassian said firmly. "He's the one who lost." Alara gave a small smile, her first of the night. The pain wasn't gone, but Cassian's kindness felt like a light in the darkness. "You're kind," she said. "Let me buy you dinner sometime to thank you." Cassian chuckled and wrote his number on a napkin. "I'll hold you to that." Alara slipped the napkin into her purse, her fingers brushing against her wet dress. She still felt the sadness, but also something new, hope. The sky was gray and fog covered Chicago's tall buildings. Alara stood in front of her bedroom mirror, wearing a navy blazer and a pencil skirt. She was still hurt by last night's betrayal, but she had work to do. Her gold dress lay crumpled in the laundry basket, a reminder of Dax's cruelty. But she also thought of Cassian, the umbrella, his steady voice, the napkin in her purse. Today she had an important job, designing a penthouse in Chicago's Gold Coast. This project could make her one of the city's top interior designers. She couldn't let heartbreak stop her. The building was tall and shiny, reflecting the busy city. The doorman smiled and took her to the penthouse elevator. When the doors opened, Alara froze. Standing in the apartment was Cassian. "Alara," he said in surprise, that smiling warmly. "You're the designer?" Alara laughed nervously. "And you're my client?" A golden retriever ran up to her, wagging his tail. "This is Max," Cassian said, petting the dog. "He's the real boss here." The penthouse was beautiful but empty. White walls, big windows, a leather sofa, and Max's dog bed. Alara's designer mind started imagining changes: warm floors, colorful rugs, and cozy corners. "It's lovely," Alara said, "but it needs a soul." "That's why I hired you," Cassian said. "I want a home, not a showroom." They walked through the rooms together, sharing ideas. Cassian wanted warmth, not just fancy decorations. As they moved into the dining area, Alara tripped on a loose rug. Her portfolio slipped, but Cassian caught her by the waist. "Careful," he said playfully, his face close to hers. "Thanks," she whispered, blushing. Max dropped a squeaky toy at her feet, making them both laugh. The walls of the apartment had only a few framed photos. Cassian hiking in a forest, Cassian and Max playing on a beach. "You don't seem like the kind of person who lives in a big, fancy penthouse," Alara said, half teasing him. She wanted to see how he would react. Cassian shrugged, giving a small smile that felt a little shy. "I grew up in a small house. I even had to share a room with my brother. This place, it's just where I ended up. I like to keep life real." His honesty surprised Alara. He was nothing like Dax, who always wanted to show off and look important. As they worked together on ideas, Alara's plans began to take shape. She imagined dark green curtains around the big windows so people could see the beautiful lake. She pictured a big wooden dining table made from old wood and art on the walls that told stories. Cassian listened closely. His questions were smart but kind, and they made Alara feel excited to share her ideas. "You really love this, don't you?" he asked as he watched her draw on her sketch pad. "It's not just my job," Alara said softly, pausing with her pencil in the air. "This is who I am. I love designing homes where people feel seen and cared for." Cassian looked into her eyes, and for a moment it felt like they truly understood each other. The room seemed smaller, and the air between them felt warm, like something important was happening. Time went by too quickly. Their conversation flowed as easily as the lake's waves outside. Alara realized she hadn't thought about Dax at all during their time together. Cassian's kindness felt like a soothing balm on her broken heart. As she packed up her portfolio filled with notes and sketches, Cassian leaned against the counter. Max, his golden retriever, lay on the floor beside him. "Still waiting on that dinner," Cassian said with a smile, though his eyes were serious. Alara smiled warmly. "Soon, I promise. I owe you more than coffee now." She looked at Max. Maybe Max can choose the place. The dog wagged his tail. Driving home through the busy Chicago streets, Alara felt lighter. The city, which had felt like a prison of pain before, now felt like a place full of possibilities. Cassian's simple way of living, his jeans, his dog, his easy smile, was breaking down the walls she had built around her heart. She had been hurt before, even humiliated in public, but Cassian saw her for who she really was, not for her scars. In her purse sat the napkin with his phone number, a small promise of something new. Zara's words echoed in her mind. This job could make you famous. But it wasn't just the penthouse project that felt like a turning point. It was Cassian, and the quiet hope he had sparked in her heart. 2 weeks later, on a Chicago evening filled with energy, Alara stepped into a dimly lit jazz club in Wicker Park. She wore an emerald green dress that hugged her shape, and the deep green glimmered under the neon lights from outside. Her heart raced. Tonight was her and Cassian's first real date. Since that rainy night on Michigan Avenue, they had spent many days working on his penthouse, turning it into a warm, inviting home. Somewhere along the way, their work had turned into something more. Cassian was waiting at a corner table. He wore a simple sweater instead of the fancy suit from when they first met. His green eyes lit up when he saw her, and he stood to pull out her chair. "You look amazing," he said warmly. Alara smiled, her fingers brushing against the napkin she still kept from the night they first met. The club was small and cozy. Glasses clinked softly, and the music of trumpets and saxophones filled the air. Cassian ordered a whiskey, and Alara got a mojito. They began talking easily. Cassian leaned forward. "Why did you choose design?" he asked, truly curious. Alara took a sip of her drink. "When I was a kid, our apartment was tiny. I would move the furniture around to make it feel more like home. It was my way of making the space better. And as a black woman, I've had to work hard to be noticed in this industry. Design is my voice." Cassian looked at her and said simply, "I see you." The words felt like a promise. She smiled shyly, her painful memories of Dax feeling far away. Cassian shared his own story. "I'm Cassian Riss, CEO of Nexus Innovations," he admitted almost reluctantly. "But I don't care about the title. I started coding in my parents' garage because I wanted to build something real. Now people only see the money, not me." Alara understood. "So you escaped to jazz clubs?" she teased. "Exactly," Cassian laughed. The music changed to a slow, romantic tune. Couples began to dance. Cassian reached out his hand. "Dance with me." Alara hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His warm touch sent a little spark through her. They swayed together. His hand rested gently on her back, and she leaned her cheek against his shoulder. For the first time since Dax's cruelty, she felt safe. But outside the club, their peace shattered. "Alara, chasing rich men now?" It was Dax, standing with Serena on his arm. His smirk was mean, and his words dripped with spite. "Moved on fast, huh? Climbing the ladder?" Alara froze, embarrassment washing over her. People nearby started to stare. Cassian stepped forward, his calm voice edged with steel. "You're Dax from my marketing team at Nexus." Dax's face went pale. "Mr. Riss," Cassian's voice was low and firm. "Insult her again and you're done. Clear?" Dax mumbled an apology and hurried away with Serena. Alara's heart pounded. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," Cassian said gently. "You deserve better than him." Later that night in Cassian's penthouse, they sat on the sofa while Max lay nearby. "Dax made me feel small," Alara admitted softly. "Like I wasn't enough. People have told me I'm too bold, too loud, too different." Cassian took her hand. "You're more than enough, Alara." Their first kiss was gentle, like a spark lighting a fire. 2 weeks later came the Nexus Innovations Gala. Alara wore a sapphire blue gown borrowed from Zara. The room glittered with chandeliers and marble floors. She stood beside Cassian, feeling the stares of Chicago's richest people. "Cassian's date," they whispered. "Who is she?" Dax appeared again, smirking. "You don't belong here, from delivery jobs to this." Before Alara could answer, Cassian stepped forward. "You're done at Nexus. Pack your things." The crowd went silent. Dax's face turned red before he stormed off. Cassian leaned close and whispered, "Don't let him get to you. They're just jealous." Alara nodded, but the doubt stayed. The next morning, her phone buzzed nonstop. Headlines flashed across the internet. Billionaire's mystery date. Designer or gold digger? Who is Alara Voss? Some bloggers had started writing mean things about her online. They even found pictures of her old design work and made fun of it. One person wrote, "This is such bad work." Others asked if she was using Cassian just to make her career better. On social media, strangers called her names like opportunist and climber. Some comments even had a mean tone about her skin color. Alara's hands shook as she scrolled through the comments on her phone. Every word felt like a little knife. Her friend Zara called her quickly and said, "Ignore them, Kay. They are just vultures." But the noise in Alara's mind was too loud, and it was hard to ignore. She sat alone in her apartment and stared at the blue gown hanging over a chair. Last night, she had felt like she truly belonged by Cassian's side, but now she wasn't sure. Was she just a rebound for him? A break from his busy, important life? The headlines she saw reminded her of Dax, her ex-boyfriend, and his mean words. She felt the same fear again that she didn't fit into Cassian's world. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Cassian. "I need time." He replied right away. "I'm here when you're ready." "I'm sorry." Tears filled her eyes. Dax's cruelty had been private before, but this time it was public. Everyone could see it, and it felt like the whole city was watching. Alara thought about Cassian's kiss at the gala and how he had defended her so strongly. It felt real. But could she really trust it? Dax had taught her that love could change into betrayal very fast. Zara's words came back to her. "You chased your dream once. Don't let fear win." But fear was strong. It whispered in her ear that she was silly to think she could be part of Cassian's world. The blue gown sparkled in the morning light. It reminded her of that magical night, but she didn't know if she could ever feel that way again. She buried her face in her hands. The silence in her apartment felt louder than the noisy city outside. Every doubt in her head felt like a shadow covering the little spark she had with Cassian. Later that afternoon, the Chicago sunlight turned golden, lighting up Michigan Avenue. Alara stood in her small apartment holding her phone. She was 28 years old and felt stuck between being brave and being scared. Her heart still hurt from the online storm calling her a gold digger and an opportunist. The cruel words from Dax also hurt, and she kept remembering them. But Cassian's text, "I'm here when you're ready. I'm sorry," kept shining in her mind like a little light. Zara's voice echoed again. "You chased your dream once. Don't let fear win." Alara's fingers shook as she typed an email to Cassian. "Meet me at Michigan Avenue, 6 p.m. Tonight, she would face her fears or let them take over her life." The day felt so slow. Each hour felt heavy. Alara walked around her apartment, looking at the blue gown draped on the chair. She thought about the weeks she had spent with Cassian, late-night talks, shared laughter, and a kiss that felt like a promise. But now the mean headlines and Dax's cruel words were breaking her confidence. Still, she remembered Cassian's strong defense of her at the gala. That gave her a little warmth. She decided to wear a simple black dress, which made her feel calm and grounded. She headed to Michigan Avenue, where she and Cassian had first met in the rain. This time, the sky was clear and the sunset painted the city gold. Cassian stood by a lamppost in his neat coat, looking around. When he saw her, his face softened with relief and a little uncertainty. "I thought you might not come," he said quietly. "I almost didn't," Alara admitted. The busy streets seemed to disappear, and only the space between them mattered. "Dax has been lying about me," she said. "The press, the headlines, they're too much. I'm scared, Cassian. Scared I don't belong in your world." Cassian looked straight into her eyes. "You belong with me. That's what matters." They sat on a bench and Alara spoke from her heart. "I've had to fight to be seen my whole life. As a black woman, people tell me I'm too much or not enough. Dax made me feel small, and now the world is doing it again. I'm scared of being judged, of falling for you and not being enough." Cassian listened carefully and took her hand. "That night we met," he said, "I was coming from a terrible meeting. People like Dax were trying to destroy what I've built. I was doubting myself. Then I saw you, kneeling in the rain, strong despite your pain. You reminded me why I started my company, to build something real, not just to chase power. You're not just enough, Alara. You're extraordinary." "I'm not strong," she whispered. "I'm scared." "That's what courage is," Cassian said with a gentle smile, being scared but still showing up. Then he pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a diamond ring that sparkled in the sunset. "Marry me, Alara," he said softly but firmly, "not because of my name or my company, but because of who we are together." Alara's heart raced. Dax's betrayal still hurt, but Cassian's love was slowly breaking down the walls she had built. "What if it's not enough? What if I lose myself in your world?" she asked. "You won't," Cassian said. You're Alara Voss, the woman who makes empty spaces into homes and finds beauty where others can't. I'm not asking you to fit into my world. I'm asking you to build a new one with me." Tears filled her eyes. She remembered Zara, her strength, and the first night Cassian had shielded her from the rain. "Yes," she whispered. Cassian put the ring on her finger and kissed her. The city moved around them, but Alara felt safe and still. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Months later, on her wedding day, Alara stood in a sunny garden in an ivory gown. She walked toward Cassian, who wore a simple black suit. The garden was quiet and filled with roses and ivy. "You're my home," Cassian whispered when she reached him. Zara, her maid of honor, smiled and said, "You did it, Kay. You found your light." Their vows were full of love and truth. Alara said, "You saw me when I felt invisible." Cassian promised to be her partner, not her savior. They kissed, and their friends clapped as the leaves rustled. Months after that, Alara's career had grown. She had designed Cassian's penthouse and was now working on a wellness center for his employees. People respected her for her work, not just for being with Cassian. One day, after a presentation, Zara gave her a gift, a magazine cover with Alara's face on it. The headline said, "Revolutionary Workplace Design. Alara Voss redefines corporate spaces." Inside was a note from Cassian. "Proud of you, not because you're with me, because you're extraordinary on your own. Meet me at the ferry." At the ferry dock, Cassian was waiting with his golden retriever, Max. He handed her a small key. "It's for your own design studio. No company ties, just your future." Alara stopped for a moment. She was strong and liked doing things by herself. "I can't take this," she said, but Cassian smiled and spoke in a fun but serious way. "You're not taking it," he said. "I'm giving it as an investment. I expect something back later." He winked at her. "I'll think of it as interest for letting me borrow an umbrella once." Alara laughed. It was a happy, free laugh. "You're impossible," she said. Cassian took a small step closer, his voice soft now. "I'm just being smart. You are amazing. The wellness center you made helped people work 30% better. This isn't a gift. It's good business." Alara looked at him. He had never tried to rescue her. Instead, he always made her feel stronger. "Partners?" she asked, taking the key from him. Her ring sparkled in the light. "Partners," he said, and gave her a kiss. Their dog Max barked happily, and in the distance the sound of the ferry boat horn echoed. Dax, who once caused trouble, was gone now. He had been fired from Nexus after his bad behavior at the gala. His mean plans were forgotten. Alara's life had changed a lot. She was no longer the woman crying in the rain. She was strong now. Her designs were making spaces beautiful. Her love with Cassian was building a bright future. Later, they walked Max by the lake. The sun was going down, turning the water golden. Alara felt calm. The fear that once held her heart was gone. Their story had started with a small act of kindness, sharing an umbrella in a Chicago storm. Now it had grown into a love that was strong and full of trust. "Thank you for that night," Alara said, leaning on Cassian's shoulder. Cassian kissed her forehead. "Thank you for trusting me," he replied. Chicago stretched out before them, a city with hard times and good times. But together, they felt they could handle anything. Their love was proof that courage and connection could change everything. What about you? What would you do if a stranger's kindness turned into a journey from sadness to happiness? Alara and Cassian's story began with an umbrella in the rain and became a love that no one could doubt. Tell us in the comments, are you cheering for Alara and her strength? Or do you love Cassian's quiet way of helping? Write where you are listening from and what this story made you feel. Thank you for being with us in this story. Your support makes our storytelling shine. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more stories of love and hope. We can't wait to share the next one with you. Until then, keep chasing your dreams.